This podcast features immature people talking about very mature content and is intended only for adult audiences. Hi, everybody, and welcome to an interlude between episodes of The Pen is Mightier. I'm your host, Paul JP, and today I have a story from my personal collection of fan fiction to read to you. But first, I'd like to introduce the guest that I have to listen to the story. I have my friend Rob Lewin here. Hey, Rob.
Hi, it's me, Rob.
It's Rob. The introduction is a little stilted because we're recording this right after we recorded last week's episode. So it feels a little weird to be saying hi to Rob again.
I've got to come clean. I am 3/4 of a bottle of rosé in at this point. So I feel like, you know, when you're pretty drunk and you're trying to act like you're not, and you're like, "Hello, my name is sober."
Yeah. Well, I'm happy you're here, and for what it's worth, I'm on my third beer of the evening. So.
Perfect. So we're on equal ground.
Golden. So the first interlude I did, I selected 2 Sonic the Hedgehog stories that were in my vault, and I had one of my guests choose between them just based on the titles. But what I did this week, and I'm going to be doing, I guess, moving forward, is I gave 3 topics to followers of the Pen is Mightier's Facebook page, and I asked them to choose between them. So those 3 topics were X-Men, Spider-Man, and Sharknado. Which one do you think might have won?
I would bet on Spider-Man, but I would vote X-Men.
Interesting.
Well, that's just a gut reaction.
Gut reaction. Okay. Well, I will tell you that when I did my final live show in Ottawa of this fanfiction show, I did a similar thing where, based on just the titles of stories that I had, I put it to the audience, which one do you want to hear? And the story that they all chose was the X-Men story that I had in my vault.
Oh, interesting.
What the people chose for this one was indeed the Spider-Man story.
I'm a genius.
So I like that. Is you yourself would have voted for the X-Men story. Mm-hmm. And don't get me wrong, the X-Men story is great. I'm sure I'll be reading it in one of these interludes soon. But yeah, no, the Spider-Man story is what I have for you today.
Yeah, he's a fan favorite. He's the people's superhero.
Oh yeah, I have like a little sort of leather-bound book in which I like take my favorite stories that I'm gonna read at the that I read at the live shows, and I put them all in this book that I read live, and like a good third of the stories in there are Spider-Man stories.
That's it makes me very happy as a person who knows you and is friends with you in real life, to know that you have a physical leather-bound book of Spider-Man erotica, of at least 1/3 it's Spider-Man erotica.
It's not just Spider-Man erotica, but a good third of it. I mean, maybe it's something I have to examine about myself, but I've always been such a huge fan of Spider-Man, and nothing is, if I'm looking for fan fiction that's going to make me laugh and make me smile, for some reason that instinct is always there. Like, I should go find another Spider-Man story.
It makes sense.
It's so funny.
There's like the shooting of viscous,
the shooting of web. Yeah.
There's also just like
everything being sticky.
Everything's sticky. There's a lot of puns that happen. There, he's a character that really
he's a real smart aleck.
He's a smart aleck, and he's a character where a lot of his stories are about learning to use your powers effectively, which I think does translate to erotica. Well, right? Like learning how to
learning to fuck
what God gave you.
That's a much more euphemistic way of putting it than I just did.
What do you mean? There is a God.
Thank you for that. Sure. Well, moving swiftly on from that.
Pow.
I did. I have brought one of my favorite Spider-Man stories for you today, which is such a weird phrase. One of my favorite Spider-Man porns. There's a wonderful podcast and live show called Bedpost. Bedpost, the Bedpost podcast, Bedpost live show. For those listeners here that are definitely more interested in a more informative look at erotica and porn and all that side of things, Bedpost is great for that, as well as being very funny. The host, Aaron Pym, a great friend of the show. I have read fanfiction at the Bedpost live show a few times, and the week after Stan Lee died, I brought this story to the Bedpost live show. And I was so proud to do so, and I know that if Stan Lee was looking down, he would be so fucking disgusted with me. But I'm excited to share this in another avenue and to share this with you, Rob. So this story is called Web of Lovers.
What an honor.
It was Web of Lovers. It was originally published on July 9th, 2015. Peter Parker lied in his bed, looking at the ceiling. He was waiting for Mary Jane come. If she decided to, that is. He looked at his alarm clock and saw it was 2:30 a.m. in the morning. He sighed and got under his blankets to go to sleep. Maybe she's not coming, he thought sadly. Suddenly, his spider sense went off. Peter sat up and looked at his bedroom door. It opened slightly, allowing Mary Jane to silently creep into his room. Peter gawked at her sports bra that barely contained her breasts and her lacy black thong. Which, what an ensemble, the sports bra and the lacy black thong.
I've never heard the term, the words gawked at her sports bra.
Gawked at her sports bra.
Put together in that order. And that's
for
just
me,
a delight.
For me, the best phrase in that first paragraph is, he saw it was 2:30 a.m. in the morning. Which,
and thought,
I mean, yeah,
maybe she's not coming over.
He pulled back the covers, letting her climb in with him. I was hoping you'd come, Peter said with a smirk on his face. Peter lifted her chin and kissed her tenderly. She sighed as his soft lips pressed against hers. Peter laid her on her back, Mary Jane's belly full of butterflies as he began to fulfill her fantasies. He pushed his tongue into her mouth, roaming the inside and savoring the minty taste. She broke the kiss for a moment to take off his shirt. She moaned when her hand glided across his hard chest and rippling stomach. Peter's member made a very prominent tent in his pajamas, and he rubbed it into her crotch. I guess it's supposed to be crotch, but...
Yeah, I mean, crunch is a word that you would use to describe eating Doritos, not a vulva and labia.
I guess not. He pulled back and smiled down on her. Let's have a little fun before we go all the way. Peter kissed down to the valley between her breasts. Mary Jane quickly took off her sports bra, allowing Peter to see her bare chest. The sports bra again. Peter
so
admired. Yeah, and we get back to that, like, the lacy black thong, but also a sports bra.
That's a specific choice.
It is. It's a specific choice, and we have to kind of wonder about that. Why the sports bra? We know the lacy black thong is sexy, but so why the sports bra?
She was out for a run.
Yeah, maybe she was just out for a run and forgot her pants outside. Peter admired her beautiful mounds. Each of her C-cup breasts were perky and peaked with a nipple that looked like a pink Hershey kiss. Now that's that's an issue.
Well, I mean that validates the idea that she was out in a sports bra, because I mean she wouldn't be out in anything other than a sports bra if she was going for a run.
Right. Yeah. But a pink Hershey kiss, that's uh, sort of unusual, like curly tip at the top. That's not really what nipples look like, but
yeah, it curves down.
Yeah, it just really, it looks like it looks like that hill in The Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yeah, this is a Spider-Man porno brought to you by Tim Burton.
Ooh, I would watch the shit out of a Tim Burton Spider-Man movie, though.
It would be great.
As long as this scene was in it. Peter took one of her nipples in his mouth and sucked on it gingerly. He pinched and played with the other, making Mary Jane moan. He released them and kissed down her toned stomach. Toned because she's a runner. Tonguing her belly button for a second. Mary Jane rubbed her thighs together as he tickled her navel with his tongue. She sheepishly spread her legs to let Peter see her. Peter gazed in awe at her virgin puss.
Oh, this is their first time having sex?
But also, I mean, puss is like maybe the least sexy word I've ever heard in my life.
I can't hear the word puss and not think about the Shrek franchise.
I'm sorry. Because of Puss in Boots?
Yeah, of course.
Right, but
they've done a very good job.
That's even less sexy than what I was thinking, which is just like, like puss is just a really gross way of referring to a vagina.
It's like a very staccato word. It feels like cactusy and not inviting.
It does, yeah. Uninviting is a really good word,
but it does feel like Puss in Boots. I can't not think about Puss in Boots when I hear the word.
That's
puss.
Disgusting to me. Her pubes were trimmed into a small triangle, and her lips were glistening from her arousal. He kissed her puffy lips and licked her slit. Peter pushed his tongue into her moist tongue, making Mary Jane gasp. Which, if she has a tongue down there, we've got more problems.
He pushed his tongue into her tongue?
That's what it says. Peter pushed his tongue into her moist tongue. Which, like he's going down on her.
Yeah.
And that's not where her tongue is.
I mean, this is a world of enhanced humans and superheroes.
Okay. You think this is like a superpower?
She has
a tongue inside of her virgin puss?
I'm just saying I wouldn't discount anything in the MCU. I mean, this may be part of Phase 4 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yeah, you're right. We actually, this is a complete side note, but we did get the title of the third Spider-Man movie today.
Did we really?
We did. It's going to be called Spider-Man No Way Home.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just a complete side note. Doesn't really add anything to this story.
What was the first one? The second one was
Spider-Man Homecoming, and then Spider-Man Far From Home.
Far From Home, and then No Way Home.
No Way Home. Yeah.
Okay.
So where is he?
There's got to be a way home.
As far as we know, yeah. There's got to be a way home, right?
I guess that's the third act.
Yeah, that's
the way home.
Plot. Yeah. Well, back to what he's doing now.
Sure, is tonguing MJ's tongue.
And MJ's lower tongue.
Mm-hmm.
He wiggled it deep inside of her, slurping up her sweet juices. Peter's tongue felt amazing inside of her. She was in heaven. Mary Jane let out a deep groan as Peter's finger pumped in and out of her. He found her clit and began to gently suck on it. Mary Jane was close to an orgasm, and he could feel it. Her body stiffened as her orgasm hit her like a ton of bricks. Mary Jane bit into a pillow to stifle her moans and whimpers. She soon was able to relax when her orgasm subsided. "Wow, Peter, have you done this before?" she asked through pants. Peter had a cocky grin on his face. "Tony Stark taught me when I was in the Avengers." Which, of course, one of the things you learn in the Avengers is Iron Man teaches you to eat pussy.
I mean, Robert Downey Jr. is an old adult man.
And he is a teen boy.
Yeah. I learned from a 50-year-old.
This 50-year-old man taught me to go down on.
Wow.
Boy. Yeah, there's a lot going on here.
Yeah, this is a lot.
It gets a little worse. Mary Jane smiled. "Tell Tony Stark I said thank you very much."
Ew.
Yeah.
Ew.
In any case, Peter smiled and climbed on top of her. He pulled down his pajama pants and boxers, releasing his rock-hard cock. Mary Jane's eyes bugged. How was that massive thing gonna fit in her? Peter aligned himself with her entrance, and Mary Jane bit her lip. "Be careful. It's my first time." Okay, going back to being romantic again. Mary Jane straightened her demeanor and made the sexiest face she could.
They've sure mentioned that it's her first time a lot.
That's at least the second time. And here's some more. Peter smiled and gently pushed into her. His big penis head pushed past her lips and touched the hymen a few moments in. Peter looked Mary Jane in the eyes, waiting for the signal. Mary Jane took a deep breath and solemnly nodded. Solemnly.
So this is like the person responsible for launching a nuke, for like turning the I'm imagining two people responsible for turning the key when a nuke launches. That's the nod that is happening. That's the nod. That's when someone says a solemn nod. That's the nod that I'm imagining. Yeah,
that's a perfect description. Peter pushed one time and took. Jesus. Peter pushed one time and took the precious virginity she was only saving for a real man. As he pushed the rest of himself in her tight puss, Mary Jane whimpered. His thick rod filled her up more than she expected. She bit her lip. "My gosh, you're huge!" Peter grabbed her hips and began to thrust into her slowly. Mary Jane's pain faded and pleasure shot through her. She wrapped her arms around his torso. "Harder, please." Peter smiled and pounded her wet snatch.
Ugh.
Oh, yeah, it got less sexy. And making her
like
moan loudly.
A lot of syllables in wet snatch.
It's too many.
There's a lot of...
There's like 4 more syllables in there than there should be.
It's a lot of consonant syllables that I'm not here for. I don't want to hear about a wet... I mean, I want to hear the song Wet Ass Pussy, but I don't want to hear about a wet
It's a good song.
Snatch.
It's
a great snatch.
Snatch is the worst, is maybe the worst
synonym
for... I don't know if it gets worse than that.
I don't know. I'm not a psychologist. Yeah, keep going, please. Of course.
Well, so Peter smiled, and he was pounding her wet snatch, making her moan loudly. He kissed her to silence.
Well, that's why you kiss someone, is to silence their moan.
To silence them during sex.
Silence.
Peter increased his speed, tightly gripping her curvy hips. He lifted her onto his lap, allowing her to hop up and down on his rod. She began to pant as he filled her up. Ah, Peter! Harder! Faster! He grabbed her hips and thrusted into with his super strength, hitting her G-spot. Mary Jane threw her head back and let out a deep growl that echoed through his room. The sound of flesh rapidly slapping each other filled the room.
The
smell of sex.
The hottest part of sex
is the awkward sound of skin on skin. The sound
is the obscene sound of skin clapping against other skin.
The sound of flesh rapidly slapping each other filled the room, the smell of sex thick in the air. Peter gritted his teeth. Mary Jane, I'm really close. Don't stop. Do it inside of me, Mary Jane growled, as she was edging towards a very large orgasm. Peter pumped harder and faster into her soaking wet puss. Jeez, it did get worse. Mary Jane, I'm gonna come. Mary Jane wrapped her arms around his neck. Me too, so don't stop. Peter thrust in one last time and exploded. He came deep inside of her, seeping into her womb. Yikes. Mary Jane bit into his shoulder, trying to stifle a squeal of pure ecstasy. They both fell on the bed in each other's arms and panted. Wow, that was just... wow, Mary Jane said breathlessly. She looked at Peter and giggled when she saw his goofy expression. She cupped his cheek and kissed him deeply. Peter smiled at her. So, are we dating? Mary Jane pondered for a moment and sat up. I'd love to date you, Pete, Mary Jane explained, but I'm dating Flash Thompson. You know, from school.
If this was written by a woman, I will eat a square meter of drywall.
Peter's face fell and he sighed, knowing what she was saying was true. Mary Jane smirked and kissed him again. But that doesn't mean we can't be secret lovers. Peter smiled brightly. You mean I get to fuck you and not get my head bitten off by Flash? Sweet! Mary Jane looked at the clock. It was 3 a.m. She got out of his bed and gathered her clothes, which I guess was just her sports bra.
Yeah, that's what she wore. That's what she was wearing. That's the only clothes that she was wearing on her way in. Yeah.
I should get back to my room. We have school. Aw, come on. Can't we go one more time? I have to be satisfied, Peter whined, gesturing to his erection. Mary Jane gasped. It was as hard as when they first started. Peter grinned. My spider powers give me amazing stamina. just coming out and saying, by the way, I'm Spider-Man.
It's amazing that someone would write a Spider-Man story, and that is the first reference to Spider-Man's powers.
Oh no, earlier he was slamming into her with his super strength.
Oh, okay. I stand corrected. It's just wild that you would write a story with Spider-Man and MJ as the main characters of the story, and you wouldn't use like swinging or any Spider-Man powers other than super sex strength.
Yeah, well, see, the thing is I was sort of operating under the assumption that she didn't know he was Spider-Man.
Oh, okay.
But I guess he just came out and said it there. I'm like, my spider powers, and she doesn't really acknowledge it.
I mean, also the weird thing is she just admitted that she's dating someone.
Yeah.
And early in the story, she just walks into his room.
Yep.
Okay.
And fucks him. I mean, she lives next door.
She walks in his room, and she has, in the story, in the mythos of the story, she's a virgin. She's never had sex with any other person before.
Yeah, not even Flash.
Not even Flash, her boyfriend.
Huh.
And she walks into Spider-Man's bedroom. Does she unlock the front door?
I guess she got in somehow.
She has to have gotten into the apartment. Where he lives with Aunt May.
Where he lives with Aunt May, yeah. In the house next door, yeah.
And
maybe he just left the back door unlocked. Oh, well, no, because, this is MCU. Spider-Man,
is this MCU?
So, well,
do we know?
He referenced Tony Stark teaching him to eat pussy.
Right.
Which, as we all know, happened in Infinity War.
Yeah,
a lot of time on that.
It was sometime between the beginning of the movie and when he disappears during the snap.
Yeah, the snap, yeah. And he never got to use it. That's what was so sad about that scene, was he never got to use that information.
Yeah.
And then when he came back, it's like, oh my god, this is great. Spider-Man's back, and he's gonna get to use that information that he learned.
That's the saddest part of the 5-year gap between when all the snap people disappear and when they come back, is that Spider-Man never got to
Spider-Man
eat pussy.
Never got to eat pussy. Until now. Mary Jane put her sports bra on and smirked. There's that sports bra again. Just wait till tomorrow.
And that classic smirk. That classic sexy smirk.
Just wait till tomorrow. It's a Friday. We can fuck all weekend. She kissed him once more and walked to his door. She stopped in the doorway and flashed her breasts before sneaking her way back down the hallway.
Mm-hmm.
Peter shook his head laughing and went to sleep. The end.
Wow. I didn't realize we had not reached the end of the story, and now I feel bad.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
That's in. There was one more quick little flash.
Yeah.
And it's a Friday. They can fuck all weekend, right?
But then she leaves.
Yeah, well, then she leaves. She's got to, she's got to sleep. It's 3 a.m. They've got school in the morning.
She's got to take the New York transit system home.
Well, okay. So maybe we can establish, is this in the MCU or not? Because
I mean, yeah, if it's
Spider-Man Home, well, no, because this story was released in 2015.
Okay.
And Spider-Man Homecoming didn't come out until 2017.
I feel like the Spider-Man, like the Tobey Maguire era, she actually was the girl literally next door.
Yeah, she was literally next door.
Okay, so it wasn't a long walk to get home.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Is that this is, he lives next door? Because even if this is the MCU, MJ, like her character name, is MJ, but she's not actually named Mary Jane. It's Michelle.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think this is the MCU. I think this is maybe Tobey Maguire universe.
Yeah, personally, I feel more comfortable with more time separating the characters that I'm imagining versus the characters that are embodying Spider-Man and MJ. I don't like imagining actual like 17-year-olds Tom Holland and the actor who is expertly portraying MJ. Zendaya, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want to imagine them as porno characters, whereas Tobey Maguire.
You'd much rather Tobey Maguire and Kirsten Dunst.
Yeah, they're adults now.
Tom Holland and Zendaya are easily in their 20s.
Yeah, but they're playing 16-year-olds.
So was Tobey Maguire and Kirsten Dunst, technically.
Yeah, but they're adults who have to think about taxes and property and children now. So they can
now they are. So you're imagining like 40-year-old Tobey Maguire.
Yeah, fumbling with a sports bra. Absolutely.
I can see it. Well, that was the story that I had for you today.
R.I.P. Stanley.
R.I.P. Stanley. Pour one out. Oh, man. Thanks so much for joining me, Rob.
This was a delight. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, yeah. I know I already asked you when we finished the episode we just recorded, but do you have anything that you want to promote? Anything you want to plug?
It's a pandemic, so I'm at home every day. But watch Bad Dog TV on YouTube. Bad Dog Comedy TV.
Yeah, excellent shows happening almost constantly.
And I'm in maybe one of them at some point. Go. Who knows? If they ask me, I'll be in one of them.
There you go.
Thanks for having me on the show. This was so much fun.
Yeah, absolutely. In terms of things that I'd like to plug and promote, I would like to promote staying safe and wearing a mask and taking care of yourselves. Because, boy, oh boy, we've been doing this for almost a calendar year, and I'd sure like to go outside and
see a person wearing a mask over their nose and also mouth.
That would be great, but I think most importantly for me is that, I would like this pandemic to end so that I can use all of the techniques that I've learned in this story.
And get back to telling smut stories in real human life.
In real human life, live on stage in front of actual people
who for some reason
hear this nonsense.
Who for some reason paid to watch you talk about smut.
And y'all are doing it for free right now, you freeloaders. Awesome. Thank you so much, Rob, for coming on the show. Rob Lewin. I'm your host, Paul JP. Thank you for listening to The Pen is Mightier. Take care of each other. Stay safe. Wear a mask. We love you. Good night, everybody.
Bye now. Tighten your sports bras.